Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Postscripts, the Precursive interview series. Today, we are joined by Adam Warniment from InfoTrust. He is the data integrations engineer team lead. Adam, really welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad to have you. I know you and I have chatted a bunch of times. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, your organization.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Happy to be here. As Graham mentioned, data integration engineering team lead. That's one of the hats with a company this size that I get to wear. I know you hear those cliches a lot, but today I get to focus a little bit more on the Salesforce administration part of things, how we use Precursive to just optimize our business procedures and also drive down to business analytics, because ultimately that's what we get out of this. We get to really look at what our metrics are saying underneath and help drive the business further and faster. So
Yeah, data is definitely king. Tell me a little bit about some of the unique challenges and opportunities that your company is looking to solve, and more importantly, even more about your company.
yeah, they actually tie together pretty well because InfoTrust, we're a privacy-centric digital analytics solution company. That sounds very buzzword phrasey when you hear privacy-centric, but to be honest, it really helps us have a strong data governance strategy for our own business analytics. We needed to start to collect data about how we operate as a company, where we're spending our time, are we profitable in certain areas? Where can we grow our clients? All these things that you hear a lot about that fit in more than just one space, right? They fit in the digital landscape of web analytics, but they also fit in internal business operations. So that's what brought us here is time. We wanted to start to look at time, how we're spending it, and how can we just optimize it.
What are some of the challenges? Look, I think, anytime you talk about time, dollars, and resources, it's a very unique intersection. And I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of people, whether it's, throughput for, projects or implementations or client-centric events. What does time mean to you and your organization?
Yeah, I would say that the lowest hanging fruit we wanted to attack was giving visibility to our delivery team from what's in the sales pipeline from a commitment standpoint, right? We really focused on revenue dollars initially. Hey, we have this deal closing, just be ready for it when it comes. But we're able to get to a point now where we can say, hey, you've got deal XYZ with products ABC with time commitments 1, 2, 3. That is informing so much more than we ever really anticipated, that delivery knows when stuff's coming. And if they're not ready for it, now recruiting's ready. So we've got a lot of connectedness because of this one simple idea of time.
That's, I've had a couple of these conversations with other folks in the portfolio. One of the things that I always find very unique that I think the second person to mention it. I'm surprised, and that's the hiring, the visibility to know when. Like everyone talks about, like, are we utilized? Are we are doing? What's our capacity? What's our blended rate? All these things, and no one says like, hey, if you close these deals, we are in trouble and need to be out ahead of hiring. Was that something the organization jumped right into, or really you found by getting a better understanding of time?
It's kind of interesting. I'll throw some background to revenue. So I did mention before that revenue is how you look at this a lot. That's actually how this idea came about. We started to look at closed deals, revenue projected over months for revenue recognition. And then we started to look at deals in the pipeline to project that exact same data structure from a revenue standpoint, right? We called those forecasted revenue. And we started to look at that and we're like, yeah, that's cool. That's dollar signs, but like, how does delivery care? Like they're thinking human, right? They need to know how much time it's going to take them. And we just copied the exact same model for time. So
No, it's an interesting approach. I think it's often overlooked, right? Because you often see folks who forecast, but then they don't get their actuals. And then what do you do to refine that? So now you have a model. I often use the plywood analogy, right? You have a piece of plywood, you rough cut it, and then you fine tune it over time. And it's great to hear that you're looking at. What are some of the other opportunities that you see within your organization to use data that you're coming across?
yeah, I think this kind of ties into that, but it's just facilitating communication better. Right. I talked earlier about a data governance strategy. When you have consistent data across the org, people can talk the same language. And that's what I'm seeing today is that now when sales is ready to bring in a deal, delivery knows exactly what they're talking about when we use a phrase that's consistent across the org. It just helps communication when you have strong data underneath, and that just when you hear again more buzzwords, I'm going to drop them all day. You hear about silos. Strong data helps you break down silos. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely so. Look, you sit on top of Salesforce. You obviously have a bunch of different systems. Any unique ways that you're leveraging your tech stack to operate your business and to sort of come up with new and innovative ways to manage your day?
yeah, so third hat I'll talk about today is the actual data integration part. Is we like to visualize our data being a Google partner in Google's stack of products. So we actually migrate our data into BigQuery to then visualize alongside our third-party systems. Um, a lot of different things. All teams like their own flavor, as they should. They're the ones using it day to day. And that allows us to have everyone work with what they like, but then report in a holistic way, in a consistent way.
I'm if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little liberty here. Is that reporting for executives, or is that just in BigQuery so that each department can get their own flavor of reports?
It's a little bit of both, the classic college answer, somewhere in the middle. But to be honest, this is probably one of the most transparent companies I've ever personally worked for. And we like to open the books to every individual. We're allowed to look, we're allowed to see what's driving the business properly and help make it grow together. So it's driving from leadership's requests and needs, but it has an impact to everybody here.
That's great to hear. I think data is great and being able to do different things with it. Is there any, you seem to be in a unique position, not only with your role, and you and I have talked a bunch before about some of the interesting challenges you run up against. Anything else just around your passions? It sounds like obviously data is a huge component of it. How do you see the landscape of data lately?
Yeah.
Curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, a couple things. I'll start with the position. I think I fit. A lot of times I look at it and I go, there's a lot going on. There's too many, getting pulled too many directions. But for a company of our size, when we were in the small company space, it was, I think, a perfect position to be able to leverage a platform like Salesforce and also be able to report on it and understand the data in like this three-pronged approach, right? Salesforce lets you build quickly. It lets you get data quickly, but then understanding it and reporting on it, that's where it kind of makes sense to have all that in a single position at this current size of our company, right? We're getting out of that. We're starting to grow a little bit, and we'll have potentially a team that oversees this. But with that being said, again, it all goes back to that underlying data set, data quality, data governance. You hear about it all the time with Salesforce, and that's strategy first and then implementation second, in my opinion. So
No, that's a great way to look at it. And look, I'm not asking you to talk out of turn. I'm curious, how do you have any unique ways to enforce, right? Because I think with Salesforce, it's what you put into it. Anything
yeah,
cool that your organization is doing to ensure at least what's going in is at a better
yeah.
place from the start?
Yeah, I should have started with this. I'm a really lazy person. That's something you probably wouldn't pick up right now, but I don't like to do manual work. Not physical work, that's fine. It's the manual data entry. I know it's sometimes a necessary evil, but that's how we approach a lot of our problems. Is the data there already kinda, or is there a way we can just mutate our data set to prevent more physical hours from entering this in? So automation, Salesforce flows, that's what they need to keep pushing, in my opinion. It's such a great environment, and it kind of brings a group together. The barrier of code is gone for a lot of individuals. You've got a lot of people who are smart with math, with logic. They can do this stuff quickly now. You don't have to take a 4-year course to learn syntax in JavaScript, right? It's logic. So that's been the thing that I think has helped us the most, is to develop quickly and report quickly because of automations and flows.
Yeah, I think automation is going to be the way, not only with Salesforce, but with other tools in the stack. It really seems to, when organizations get it right, it's very powerful because look, keeping your CRM up to date is no one's favorite task, but the
Agreed.
power of having good information, at least to build off of, is, as you know, the most important. It saves so much time, and more importantly, it fine tunes, in my opinion, the visibility that you get, right? So now that when you're bringing it to BigQuery, you have a better picture because you have ensured and instilled within your folks that the data is at least clean on the way in.
Well said.
Yeah, thanks. Anything else, unique that you're seeing in the market space, either where InfoTrust is or just in the data space in general?
Primarily for our company, I think just with GDPR, CCPA, I told you I dropped more buzzwords. Those are things that are real and they're here today, and they're a pretty big impact to make sure you're not leaking your customers' third-party data. We employ those same types of things, and myself, make sure that any of data points that we have that's connected to an individual here, we're very careful about it. So I think the power is back to the people. It's back to the consumer. Think we're seeing a lot more of that, and we should. If you want to let someone have your data and sell it, fine. Just give me something in return for it, right? Give me a better ad or something, or give me a little coupon. I don't care. Just focus on it that way.
It's interesting, right? As the apps are starting to take off at a younger age, I worry about privacy. You and I have talked. I also have a privacy background. Went through the first iteration of GDPR many years ago. Behavioral targeted advertising I've been in, and it's interesting. Do people really understand the way data is being used in all these products, right? So whether it's a TikTok that my kids are using, I do worry if people understand the power and the value of their individual, data bits.
You tied into it interestingly of, do people understand? And I think we're getting close to a point where almost no one understands because of machine learning, right? I mean, we can super break down the concept of machine learning and just say it's math again, like I like to always say. It's just regression again.
It's ones and zeros.
But there you go. Break it down as far as we can. But the concept is like, are we just going to lose track of how much we're being tracked, how much we're able to understand about ourselves that we might not even get? Like as a human, it's crazy how much opportunity there is with just things. Your chat GPT, that's buzzwordy again, but things like that.
I often wonder, and look, let's riff on this for a second, if you don't mind. I wonder if the fix has been in for so long, right? Because in the past, there was this big, understand your data, protect it. Now we have another generation that doesn't understand that, and they've almost been pulled in. So these apps and these organizations have been pulling them in. So I actually think it's becoming a commodity. And when I say that, I mean PII has become a commodity to some of these younger generations, and they don't truly value and understand it. And they think, oh, I'm missing out if I don't open up and let my information out there. And that's a really scary, I'd offer that as sort of a sky is falling approach. But I really do think that, folks have been led into feeling that they're missing out if they're not giving their data. And of course, companies are going, great, we'd love to have your data.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll even add, I'll throw my age on this. I came up in a generation that we were pretty much born on the internet. And right in high school, that was the first time where we started having social media platforms. And our entire lives have been under this idea of sharing. Like, you see share buttons on every freaking platform now. Everybody's got it. And it's just the idea of you should share. And previous, that 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was share what you need to share carefully. Now it's share more, get likes. Like it's interesting how space goes.
Yeah, I think we've led the witness. And if you look at, the two, and if not more, major CRM players, what have they started to do? They've started to bring in things that keep you locked into their universe, communications tools, APIs that allow bi-directional information sharing, because they don't want you to leave that space. And I think it's interesting, right? We used to look at CRMs as just this thing that, you close win your deals and things happen. Well, now we're seeing, you close win those deals, you now can start to hire, you have all these communications. And I'm really interested to see where all this goes in the future, because it is a really, data privacy is something that I don't think there's enough education about, just in general.
Yeah, it is very true. That's one of the things Honestly, on the delivery, the client side, we try to drive the idea home, keep letting people know that this is the way to scale your business. Start with privacy centric first and move forward from that. Luckily, I've got that background myself, so I get to use that internally with our own systems, and it very clearly works for us. So
It's interesting, right? In our implementations, we talk about data privacy and security early and often, through the pre-sales process. I'm actually interested in, and this is making me think, on the implementation team, is that something that actually people are worried about and thinking about?
Um, you brought to light the critical lens is the pre-sales process. But once we hit post-sale into delivery, we are starting to report on things that are like health of the projects. How are we burning down through hours? Those types of metrics that are very insightful for how the project's progressing. So the same lens, same type of lens scrutiny is now just on the project side.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's very unique. Well, look, Adam, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with me. Any final thoughts as we break here?
No, I think we covered a lot of the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. Data, math, all that stuff. That's automating. I'm lazy again. I'll say it one more time, but that's the key. That's the key.
Salesforce automations, you're selling it
That's
right
what it
here.
is.
Well,
Trying.
thank you so much, Adam, for your time. Wish you well, and thanks again.
Thanks, Graham. Great talking with you.